the moment you're born, they put a little honey on your tongue. So
And
it's
they
not
ruin
just
the rest
flavor.
of your life.
You have the bread halwa in Punjab, so which is essentially a halwa born out of partition. Palak ka halwa.
Palak ka halwa. Yeah, it might even taste good. Who knows?
Who knows? An ande ka halwa.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah.
Ida Park. Hello, I know so many Parsi friends. Nobody's ever given me Ida Park. Come on.
So we'll serve him this dish, and when he bites into it, he will, he'll be surprised.
Yeah, how sweet.
Yeah.
Anything for the damad, man. The sun is setting, and there are all these shops which are lit.
Lit up, yeah.
And they've got big glass bharnis full of brown rasgullas, like light brown
Right,
rasgullas,
yeah.
and they're all backlit. Hello and welcome once again to A Century of Stories India, brought to you by IDFC First Bank, always you first. I'm your host Kunal Vijaykar, and today we're going to talk about India's sweet cravings. Mithai is the perfect punctuation to all our meals, the unspoken rule of Indian hospitality. No festival, no celebration, or even post-meal craving is complete without something mitha. Understanding mithai is like understanding India itself, which is diverse, layered, and deeply rooted in tradition, yet constantly evolving with time. Now, to discuss all this, joining me today is Shubhra Chatterjee once again, filmmaker and culinary researcher. She's traveled across India tracing forgotten recipes, exploring local food traditions, and uncovering the deeper stories behind what we eat. So, Shubhra, welcome to the show once again.
Thank you so much for having me, and I love that we're going to talk about mithais because I don't think there's anything I like more than sweet thing.
I'm a physical representation of what happens when you eat too much mithais. So I have a terribly bad sweet tooth. I cannot finish a meal without having something sweet at the end of it. And however much dietitians have said you must avoid sweets, if you want
just
to lose weight,
take it in through
doesn't
one ear
happen.
and yeah,
Doesn't happen. Doesn't happen, man.
Can't.
And Indian sweets, there's this thing, okay? I firmly believe that Indian food is the best food in the world.
It is.
Okay, because the variety of food we have and everything, the taste, spices, all that. But here we are in the sweet tradition where even European dessert tradition is very big and strong.
Right.
And if you take French patisserie or you take, anyway, even if you go into the Mediterranean areas, even in Arab countries or the Arabian deserts, where the meals may not be the most
Lavish. Yeah.
the sweets are there. There are sweets over there. So, what makes Indian sweets? And we love Indian sweets. Every state has its own sort of recipe, famous dish. What do you think is the origin of Indian sweet? Is it because even in our religious practices, sweets play a very important role as prasad, as bhog, etc., etc. So, do you think that mithai sweets comes from there, or how do you see the origins of meetha in Indian food?
The origins of meetha, that's a very interesting question. I've actually never thought of this. Like, when did we start eating meetha? I think it would have just been, pieces of gourd that we were having. I mean, we had sugarcane. It came to us quite a few years ago. I don't know exactly when it was. But I think there was sugarcane is indigenous to Papua New Guinea, like a lot of
Correct.
other things, like
Correct.
bananas, for example. But it came to us early on. And eventually, we were the ones to give the world refined sugar. So I'm sure before that there was jaggery. Before that there was honey. Like the earliest texts you see, they mention the use of honey, and then later on you start seeing sugar and jaggery coming into the picture. But I think honey would be where we began, right? That would be that one sweet thing that we would find, harvest, include in our meals.
So you may be absolutely right, because now when you say honey, my mind goes to the one thing that is done for all pujas, which is the Panchamrit,
Right.
which is essentially honey with dahi, milk, which is mixed and then given as
Yes.
Panchamrit, and that is sort of the sweet thing that we all grew up
Right.
connected to the pujas that happen in the house. Any puja, it may be whether it's Satyanarayana puja, Ganpati puja, whatever,
Absolutely, yes.
there's always this Panchamrit, which is
Which
the
is
sweet
served.
thing,
Yeah.
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 So maybe there is a connection, deep connection to temple food and mithais. And like Orissa's Chappan Bhog,
Yes.
I mean, there are tons of mithai in that. So do you see religion, religious practices, religious ceremony, which is so part of Indian culture, sort of begin?
What you're saying reminds me of one thing. Okay, when my brother was born, I remember the first thing that my grandmother did was take honey,
Huh.
madhu, and draw like a little om on his tongue.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
and it's very interesting that other than, I mean, that was the first thing he got to taste. I am guessing this is also done, like that's the only birth I have seen closely, observed closely, and I saw this happening then. So, but I'm guessing this is there in other cultures as well. So from the moment you're born, they put a little honey on your tongue. So it's not just
And
it's
they
not
ruin
just
the rest of your
flavor.
life.
It's not a sweet tooth, it's sweet tongue. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, but what you say is interesting, because over here it's not just about flavor, it's not just about introducing the child to a flavor. It is something auspicious that
Yes,
you're doing,
yes.
right? Like, you're not putting salt because maybe you don't regard salt as auspicious, whatever it is, or something bitter. You're putting honey because it's connected with auspicious. So I see what you're saying about the connection to religion, about the connection not to religion but probably to practices around, like temple prasad is almost always sweet.
It is always sweet.
There's
Yeah.
very few times, or
There are rare ones which give you
Yeah.
poha and shira. I mean, spicy shira.
spicy,
Whatever.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Temple prasad is almost always sweet. So perhaps there's a sort of auspicious purity connotation attached with sweet things because they're pleasant. And the opposite, like, I mean, we regard bitter as poisonous, right? Like, I mean, it's in our memory, like, as the race, the human race, like when you start, because most bitter things tend to be poisonous, right? So even when I think we were first exploring what food we could eat or not eat, and we were tasting things, you would regard what is bitter as poisonous and leave it aside
hatao,
as hatado. This is probably not safe for us unless we see some other species eating it and surviving. So I think that remains in our taste memory, and we tend to go away from the bitter and towards the sweet, because what is sweet is usually almost
Pleasant,
always pleasant.
happy.
Yeah, fruit, juicy
Yes,
apples,
yes,
mangoes, like
yes.
it's almost, yeah.
It's also, of course, I'm thinking on my feet right now, and I don't have any proof to substantiate this, but prosperity must be translating into sweet things. For example, we were traveling in Maharashtra, driving up, and we came to a village which has so much of dairy, so much of milk, okay, that they didn't know what to do with the milk. I mean, there was so much milk.
Right.
So they started a pedha industry.
Wow.
They started reducing the milk
Right.
and making khoya out of it. And if you go, the whole village is out on the highway with little stalls selling peda.
Lovely.
So,
lovely.
and then the little stamping those pedas
Yes,
and making
yes.
handmade pedas and all that. So, and that has happened purely because they had just excess milk. The story of Amul, for example, they started as a milk cooperative,
Right.
but they had excess milk.
They had a lot
So
of
they
milk.
started making butter and ghee or whatever,
Yes.
So maybe there's something to do with prosperity and excess milk, because you need excess milk to make sweet things, after you've
Absolutely.
satisfied your basic requirement
Your
for
basic
milk.
requirement, then you reduce the milk into the khoya,
Yeah.
or you know, break it into the paneer or the
Absolutely,
chana.
yeah.
Yes, yeah, but first your basic
Yeah.
milk requirement is done, and then you move on. So yeah, there is a prosperity attached to it. Perhaps if you are most prosperous, you eat more sweets,
Yeah.
but everyone eats
Everyone
sweets, and everyone loves sweets
Everybody,
across
yeah,
the
yeah.
board. Yeah.
And if you travel to parts of North India or even the rest of the country, you will find that sweets are easily available on the road.
They are.
They're like jalebis, for example. Everywhere you go, you can find jalebis. And there must be some sort of story behind a jalebi and a story behind a gulab jamun. And,
Yes. Yes.
do you have any such sort of interesting stories about our Indian sweets that we so like? Besides the big battle that happened between Orissa and Bengal about who owns the copyright
Rasgulla.
for the Rasgulla.
Yeah, well, the Puri temple
Yes.
has Rasgulla in its Mahabhog,
Uh-huh.
which means they've been making it for the last 800 years.
Okay, there you
So
go.
it's been there.
Have you just dissed the whole of West Bengal?
I haven't. I'm sure West Bengal has its own different
Version.
origin story of the Rasgulla. But it seems to me that it's been there in Orissa, being made ritually at the temple. The Mahabhog at the Puri temple remains largely unchanged. New things have not been introduced to it. New ingredients have not been introduced to it. So obviously there was chana, because even now you have Rasgulla in the Mahabhog.
Correct.
And it is believed that it's been there for the last 800 or so years since the temple started and since the Mahabhog started. In fact, the Mahabhog is a lovely tradition, and there's various other sweets too. You have the kheer as well,
Yes.
the paesh. And there's, in fact, we shot one episode of Lost Recipes over there, and we made one of the dishes which used to be made in the Mahabhog earlier, but is not made so frequently anymore. It's called the Anna Rasabali. Now the thing is, the Puri temple is a Vishnu temple, and Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna, various avatars
Yeah.
of Lord Vishnu are worshipped, and it is believed that because the Lord loved milk and milk products. So this one dish was basically anna. Anna is rice, and the rest of it was all dairy. So it was rice and ghee mixed together, layered with cream, kheer, which is rabri, reduced milk, butter. Then what is called papdi, that's like the top layer of malai,
the
which is
malai,
yes,
yeah.
which has been dehydrated a little bit, and that was it. There was butter, thick layer of butter, cream,
Oh my.
rice. It was one of the richest desserts
Oh my.
I have eaten, and we were told that it's not made anymore because it's not financially viable to make it anymore.
Yeah.
Because when people would say that I am sponsoring the prasad today, or I want to contribute to the prasad today, they would want to feed people, right? And it became so expensive to make it, which is why making this one particular meetha died down. But the rasgulla and the kheer, of course, are
But
still
since you brought this up, I was shooting at the Puri temple years ago. This was 15, 17 years ago maybe. And right on the outskirts where all the food stalls are, they were making this thing with the skin of the,
Yes.
the malai, okay? So big handis of milk where the malai has risen up and become into a skin, and they were just putting powdered sugar, rolling it up,
yes,
and selling it like that, just pure
Beautiful.
malai.
beautiful.
And then in Surat there is a dish called sagla bagla, which is again, it's just these layers of malai which have been dehydrated, sweetened, and then like puff pastry, just one on top of the other. So it's like a baklava
Wow.
made out of malai.
Wow, I've never had this sagla bagla in Surat.
I've had it once because
Wow.
somebody sent it down from Surat, and every time anybody goes to Surat, I beg, please, can you get me one box of sagla bagla? Nobody's ever brought it down for me after that.
I must go to Surat and look for this.
Yes,
I didn't know
yes,
of it.
yeah.
I mean, I've been to Surat a few times, but I've not
So please,
eaten
please
the...
bring me one box.
I shall,
Yeah.
I promise. Yes.
So, speaking of this thing from Surat and Gujarat, we have so many states and so many regions, and each state, each region has its own kind of distinctively different mithai, dessert, if I may call that. Whether you eat it on the streets of any big city, or even if you have the temple food, like Maharashtra has very, very different, like kharwas and modak and
Right.
puran poli, etc., etc. You go to the north, you have these deep fried mithais, you got malpuas, and
Right.
you know
Yes, yes, yes. So that's what's interesting. You know what I have found over the years of traveling to various places and eating a lot of mithai is that other than the fact that it makes the scales tip, is that there is the local ingredients play a large part in the mithai. So there are a few things which you find everywhere. Okay, you find a laddu across the country in different forms. You find a barfi, laddu, barfi, halwa, kheer. These are things you find in different forms with different ingredients across the country. Like in the north, you will have maybe गेहूं की खीर होती है, or you will have चावल की खीर,
Okay.
or in the south you have kheer with coconut milk, or you have kheer with tender coconut
Yeah,
coming in,
correct.
right? The elanir
and the kheer is
payasam.
then payasam is also kheer only eventually.
Yes, payasam, payesh, kheer. It's
Yeah, correct.
all
Yeah.
it's kheer is essentially reduced milk. That's what it is. So different ingredients, but it's the same mithai in different forms. Similarly with halwa, suji ka halwa. Then you have various dals ka halwa.
Moong dal ka halwa,
Moong dal ka
which is
halwa.
now every buffet has a moong dal ka halwa.
Yeah, but there's so many more different types of halwas. Like you have the bread halwa in Punjab, so which is essentially a halwa born out of partition, because when 1947 happened and the partition happened, a lot of families from what is now Pakistan, which is Punjab, came and settled in various refugee camps around the country. In Delhi, there were a large number of camps. So, one of the things that were given to them as ration was bread. Now, they didn't really know what to do with the bread, or they had excess bread left. One of the things that emerged from that time, from that very, very difficult time, was bread ka halwa. They may not have had suji or besan or atta
Ready to eat,
available
yeah,
to
yeah,
them,
yeah,
और जो
yeah,
भी था
yeah.
उससे रोटी बन रही थी. But bread halwa is a thing. So it's like this bittersweet,
So what is it like? What is like it's like a bread pudding, or what is
it's like a halwa. It's like ghee,
Huh?
bread, and sugar.
And they just ghata
And
it
yeah,
and
and
just
you ghidao it, and it becomes a halwa.
So bread forms an interesting, and bread is not indigenous to us.
Yeah.
So it's obviously post the Portuguese and post the British, when the Irani bakeries, or whenever bread came into
Right.
India, that they started using bread as a as a ingredient to make
Absolutely. I don't
double
think there
ka
was
meetha.
any Shahi Tukra 500
Shahid-
years ago.
Yeah, there probably wasn't. Yeah. The
Yeah.
other interesting thing that I find about Indian desserts is the use of vegetables. Like, I had no idea that petha was made out of kaddu, or
Kaddu,
whatever it is made out
yes,
of.
yes.
I just thought, what is this really translucent, lovely, marshmallowy, not really marshmallowy, but like it's like a boiled
a
sweet.
jujube
Yeah,
thing, yeah.
jujube thing.
Yeah.
And then in Agra, when I actually saw how they were making it, I said, that's fascinating. You've taken kaddu, which otherwise you wouldn't even associate with anything
Meetha.
meetha.
And you've just dunked it in syrup and made this thing. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Similarly, all our halwas, gajar,
Gajar
budi.
ka halwa, yeah.
Yeah.
Gajar ka halwa is huge. Dudi ka halwa is again. I mean, lauki ka halwa ban raha hai. Like otherwise, kids don't eat lauki. I mean,
Correct.
these
You
days.
think they're getting any benefit out of eating
No.
lauki ka halwa?
No.
After-
Next is palak ka
Yeah,
halwa.
palak ka halwa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might even taste good. Who knows?
Knows. Yeah, can't say. But one of the things again that I found while I was shooting Lost Recipes was the use of these unusual ingredients. Pyaz ki kheer, lasan ki kheer,
Correct.
and then what I understood was it was related to seasons. Like lasan ki kheer gives you warmth
Hmm.
in the winters. Pyaz ki kheer is cooling,
Hmm.
so it's made in the summers. And I think it all comes out of experimentation. I don't think there was, anyone would really go set out to make lasan ki kheer because
It tasted good.
it tasted good.
Yeah.
And even now, when you're making lasan ki kheer, if you see the recipes, you have to boil the lasan,
Till it
in
loses
water,
all its-
till it loses its lasaniness, till it loses the garlicky flavor, and then you cut it and you put it in the
Yeah.
milk.
Correct.
Similarly with onions. So I think there was a lot of experimentation, and
Yeah, it's probably the indulgence of those Nawabs and of Lucknow, where all these keys, ande ka halwa comes
Ande ka
out of there,
halwa. Yeah. The Parsis also have a lovely Ida Pak, which is an ande ka halwa.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah. We
Ida
did it in
Pak.
Udvada. It's
Ida Park. Hello, I know so many Parsi friends. Nobody's ever given me Ida Park. Come on.
it's quite nice. I didn't like when I went in thinking ande ka halwa. I wasn't very sure, but it's actually quite nice. Anda is used in a lot of mithais. You have the muttamala in Kerala again, which is
yes.
like a string of
Correct. I mean, even in Western cooking, the egg is used in most desserts.
Yes.
Egg white is used in beautifully. That's why I think eggs are so versatile, because you can, do literally anything with an egg.
Absolutely.
Any texture, any form, any custard is all egg.
Right. Yeah. And like you were saying, in different parts of India, we've taken different ingredients and experimented with them. Patiala, again, we were shooting in Patiala, and we were shooting a recipe from the Royal Kitchens. They had mirchi ka halwa. Which was made out of Shimla mirch,
Okay.
thankfully, and not mirchi. But they had a mirchi ka halwa, which is nothing but like Shimla mirch chopped, almost to a mince and cooked with khoya and sugar. So it becomes that halwa.
And again, I'm
thing.
assuming you cook that Simla mirch down where it loses all its.
Yeah, it's like doodhi.
yeah,
you can't
yeah,
taste the
you
doodhi
can't
in a
taste-
doodhi ka
you
halwa,
can't, you
right?
can't.
So it's
Although
it's
good
very,
gajar ka halwa, you can taste the gajar in it. And it is quite good.
Gajar ka halwa is, I think Gajar ka halwa, I don't think we ever, we can imagine a time when we didn't have gajar.
Gajar ka halwa.
We didn't have gajar ka halwa.
Yeah.
It's like Punjab has completely taken it, like it's
Absolutely.
like ours.
And in Lucknow, in the winters, you get that black gajar.
Kali gajar, yes,
Yeah, and then
yes.
they
You
make
have Kali
halwa.
gajar ka halwa.
Yeah, Kali gajar ka
yeah.
halwa happens also.
Yes. Beautiful halwas. You have halwa made with even gluten, chikhat.
Oh,
Yeah, uska bhi halwa banta hai.
I have no idea what
Yeah.
that is.
Like गेहूं से gluten निकाल के they make halwa out of that. Then
So gluten free is not an idea at all. I mean, no.
then you have halwas made out of banana. You have halwas made out of coconut
Yeah.
milk. Various. I think you can make a halwa out of anything. I can't think of what kind. Mutton का halwa होता है.
Yes, I have eaten.
Yeah.
Gosht ka halwa bhi I've had.
Yes.
I've had this.
Where did you have the gosht ka
I'm
halwa?
trying to remember where, but-
Rampur. Or-
Yes, it was one of those Lucknow things only. Not really Rampur, because I've never been to Rampur.
Right.
But I think in Lucknow, Gos and... But even when talking ande ka halwa, if you take the Parsi Baruchi Akuri,
Huh.
which is an akuri,
Right.
but it is made with dry fruits
Ooh, nice.
and no spices in it. It's like a custard, because it's eventually, what is a
Yeah.
scrambled egg? It's a custard
It's a
only,
custard. Yes, yes,
So
yes.
if you put a little cream in it, it'll be even more custardy.
That's true.
So we have this thing about unusual ingredients in desserts.
That brings me to a story which I love to talk about.
Please.
It's a Calcutta story. It's a Tagore family story. So, for Rabindranath Tagore's 50th birthday, his niece, Pragya Sundari Devi, who's written seminal cookbooks on the food of Bengal, made what is known as the Kobi Shambandhana Barfi, which means Kavi ko Sambandhana Dena. Okay?
Kobe.
Yeah,
okay,
Kobe,
okay.
yeah.
I thought Kobe
But
was.
what it is actually a gobi ki barfi.
So it was. I thought so. Okay.
Yeah, so she's used cauliflower to make this barfi.
Wow.
And if you think about it, that's because cauliflower was a very novel ingredient at that time.
Yes.
And they were experimenting with new ingredients. The Tagore family was known to experiment with new ingredients and
A rich
cooking
Thakur
methods.
family with big
Yes.
mansions and yes.
Yes, so this has come out of that experimentation with a lot of, and that period in the late 1800s and early 1900s, we were introduced to a lot of
Lot of new vegetables.
Yeah.
Interesting. And it's also the amount of say pedhas we have in this country.
Yes.
You have these dark brown pedas from Belgaum.
Yeah.
And, oh,
The Dharwad peda.
Dharwad pedas.
Then
Oh,
there's one
God.
which is very famous in Baroda also. Like every place has a peda.
Has
that
a peda,
yeah,
which
has a
is-
peda. Yeah. Well, I was recently in Bengal in a place called Chandan Nagar. Now, Chandan Nagar is to the north of Calcutta. It's on the banks of the Hooghly, and it used to be a French trading post. So the French were there. And along the Hooghly over there, there are these 4 towns, which like one was a Danish trading post, one was French, one was Portuguese, and one was something else. I forget. The amount of mithai I have eaten in Chandan Nagar is like and all of these shops are, because the Grand Trunk Road passes through
Through
Chandan
there,
Nagar.
correct.
So all these mithai shops are on the Grand Trunk Road, and everyone has their own speciality. It's incredible. My mind was, I think I ate 30 different kinds of sweets on one day. Like we were just going from
My
mithai shop
God.
to mithai shop to mithai shop.
In one town?
In one small town. And one of the things that I ate there was a jol bhora, which is basically a sandesh, but it has nolen gur, the liquid nolen gur inside it. So when you bite into it, it spills,
Oozes.
it oozes out. And the story is that this was made to confuse the damad. Like damad ghar aayega, so we'll serve him this dish, and when he bites into it, he will, he'll be surprised.
How sweet.
Yeah.
Anything for the damad, man. This Indians, anything for a damad. But it's like even now they do this kheer kodam, which is
Yes.
again sandesh ka outside with a little bit of
Roshogulla
which
inside.
has been soaked in nolengur and juicy
Beautiful.
and
So
Bengal.
that's one of my favorite mithais.
Yeah.
What the east of India, Odisha and Bengal, both. Odisha also has amazing mithais. Outside the Puri temple, there are these mithai shops, and I can never wrap my head around what is what, because there's so many things and they're all coming at you. It's incredible what these two places have done with chana.
Absolutely. And it's all based on hung curd,
Yes.
literally.
It's
All
paneer
the-
and chana.
yeah,
That's what
that's
it is.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we brought up this little battle between Bengal and Odisha. And I remember driving up from Bhubaneswar to Puri or somewhere. There was a highway.
Yeah, the guys on the bikes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
With the chana.
Yes, and then there was one road which had only mithai shops, and it was so just imagine, okay, visually it's dark, the sun is setting, and there are all these shops which are lit,
Lit up, yeah.
and they've got big glass bharanis full of brown rasgullas, like light brown
Right,
rasgullas,
yeah.
and they're all backlit, and it's like a road full of sweets. Just it was just unbelievable. That's when I
beautiful.
actually believe that maybe Odisha did invent the.
So what I was talking about was, and I did the same Puri to Bhubaneswar in the morning, not in the evening. And what I saw was that there were these guys on bikes. With these bags hanging, one bag on this side, like almost like like a very large muslin handkerchief tied like a potli,
Okay.
tied one on this side and one on this side, and riding their bikes. And I was like, what is this? What is this that they're carrying? Because I saw some 6-7 of them in quick succession, and they're like, they're taking chana to make the mithai for the day. So in those big potlis was chana. It was being taken to wherever their
and it
workshop
was being
is.
sort of dehydrated as it traveled.
Yeah, as it
so
traveled.
The liquid was okay.
Incredible. It was quite a sight. Like I was like, this is beautiful. But like you mentioned that everywhere in India, mithais are so easily available and great quality mithais.
Yes, and reasonable. Everybody can afford a little
Everyone
bit of mithai.
exactly everyone, like you don't have to be of a certain social strata or have a certain amount of, everyone can afford to have
Yeah,
mithais.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk of mithais, obviously there have been influences in India of the invaders and whoever else. So I'm assuming that the whole dry fruit thing, like adding badam, pista, kaju to mithai, must have been an influence from outside and not really
Yes.
us. Did the sort of Persian, the Mughals,
Our mithais
invaders
have,
influence our mithai making?
yes, certainly. A lot of the mithais we know today have come, have roots in Persia. The Faluda, for example, is from there. The Persians have palude or falude, and over there's no milk added to it. It's a sort of a sorbet. With rose syrup, a rose
Lovely.
syrup sorbet, and the noodles, the vermicelli, and served with a bit of lime and mint. When it came, and of course, like sugar. When it came to India again, I think it must have come, on one of the many, like with the Mughals, because I remember reading that Jahangir was very fond of the faluda, but in Jahangir's court it was served with milk.
Milk.
Yeah, milk and cream, like ice cream. Kulfi also has roots in Persia. Our gulab jamun has roots in Persia. There's a mithai over there called lukma or lukmat al kadi, which basically lukma is a morsel and a kadi is a judge. So judge's morsel is what it's called.
Okay.
And it looks exactly like the gulab jamun, just that that doesn't have khoya. That has dough. It has
Atta.
maida. I'm not sure whether I think it's maida, but with yeast in it. So
it's light. Okay.
it's light. So and you make balls out of that. You deep fry them and you dunk them into syrup, and
It's like making
that
fugiyas and making syrup out of it.
in a sense, but that has also traveled westwards. It's just, and they say that the roots of the donut lie in
Oh,
that.
yes. I
Yeah.
never thought about that. Yes,
Yeah.
donut
It's
is
come
exactly that.
here and khoya happened. So now we mix maida and khoya to make the gulab jamun.
Correct.
It traveled further east too and became the pantua, which is chana and maida, which are mixed together. And so that's the Bengali gulab jamun, which is the pantua. But also in the Manasulasa, which is a cookbook, which is not. I mean, it's not a cookbook, but it's a text from the 12th century Karnataka. There was a Kalyani Chalukya king who had written, it's called Refresher of the Mind, and one of the chapters is Annabhog, which is on food. So there is a meetha in that which has this, which is like a mix of a gulab jamun, and it's like the predecessor of the pantua, because you have chana. You actually break milk. Like there's all these stories about, oh no, it's only when the Portuguese came that we started making chana. I don't think that's true, because in the Manasulasa you are putting you are breaking milk and hanging it, and then with the paneer that comes out you're mixing it with atta and deep frying it, making balls of it, deep frying it and dunking it in syrup. So it's like sort of a predecessor
It
of
is.
the pantua, and it existed there. So it's again interesting. So on the one hand, we believe that the gulab jamun has roots in the lukmat al kadi. There's also this manasulasa ka meetha, which could have been like a predecessor in South India. Similarly, the jalebi, there is the zalabia
Yes.
of Iran.
I've heard of that, yes.
Yeah, and the jalebi is believed to have its roots
Over there.
in that.
So
But
what is zalabia? But then is it similar?
It's maida. Zalabia is
maida.
maida. Over here, we use besan and dahi ka mix na for
Is that
jalebi.
what? Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
what goes inside a jalebi actually. It's a
Chane
besan
ka
and
atta,
dahi.
chane ka atta and
okay.
dahi.
Okay,
And
okay.
that's why they say jalebi is also good when you have an upset stomach. And for the longest time, I used to be very confused. But then I realized that the jalebi is fermented.
Huh.
वो ferment करके then they pipe it into the
Ghee or
into the
oil
ghee
or whatever.
yeah. Purists will say ghee, but like that's a lot of ghee.
Yeah, it's a lot
Yeah,
of ghee.
and
The
then you dunk
dalda
it.
and then the tail.
Yeah.
But so, also we we've pretty much discussed desserts and sweets which are either milk based and reduced milk and added sugar to it, or which are fried. But we've also got a whole lot of influence that comes maybe from the West, which is the baking
Yeah.
of mithais, baking of sweets, and the steaming of sweets. You know, like uh, like the modak is steamed.
Right.
They've got a lot in Mangalore, a lot of rice, and so
Yeah,
it,
the
paturi
Ella,
or whatever
yeah,
it's called. No?
Patoli.
Yeah, patuli. Yeah.
Yes.
So and coconut jaggery mixtures in rice in rice
It's a
batter.
rice dough.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
dough
make a
or
dough
batter.
out
Yeah.
of rice flour, and then it's stuffed with coconut
Correct.
cooked with jaggery. It's similar to the Ella Ada in Kerala.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
but
similar to the modak in Maharashtra, which is
it's
again there.
it's very interesting that you bring the modak up, because that again is a dish which I have found similar recipes across the country, including in Uttarakhand and Nepal. So in Nepal, you have a very similar dish which is called the yomari, if I'm not mistaken. The lomari or the yomari. I think it's the yomari. It's like it's shaped like a snail, but what it is in a sense is a rice flour dough, exactly the same as the modak, but the filling is walnuts and jaggery,
Oh, okay.
and you put that into this mix, like into this, and you shape it like a little snail, and you steam that. Similarly, in Uttarakhand, where I spend a lot of time in Uttarakhand, half the year I'm there, half the year I'm in Bombay, where we stay in the Tons Valley, which is Upper Garhwal. We have what is known as the Seda roti. The Seda roti is very similar. You have a rice flour dough into which you make, like you make a mixture of jaggery and post dana, which is posto,
Hmm.
khaskhas,
Khaskhas. Correct. Khaskhas.
walnut, and you make that into a mix. You stuff this into the, you make like stuffed puris almost, and you steam it. You steam it on the bed of sugandhi dhan for that fragrance, and you put it in these pattas, these citrus leaf pattas, like on both sides, and you steam it on this dhan. So again, it's very similar to the modak in texture and taste. It's just that there's no coconut in it. It's using whatever the local
Ingredients
ingredient
are there.
is.
No coconut trees in the
No,
in
not,
Himachal.
not,
Yeah,
yeah,
Uttarakhand.
nowhere near the Himalayas. Yeah, we don't get like over there. When we do try to, get coconuts or buy coconuts, half the time they're spoiled, because by the time they get there,
They get their
they're
spoiled.
gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we've got coming finally to the sort of baking traditions that
Yeah.
we have inherited. Like we, for example, in our community, and we are a Bombay community, we have a semolina cake which we make, which is called rot.
Right.
But
With
it's baked.
yogurt. Yeah, I think there's a yogurt.
Is there yogurt in it? I don't know. I don't know the recipe really. But I know that the base is they don't use maida or atta. They use rava in it.
Right, semolina.
And and it's flavored like a good sponge cake, but with little extra jaifal and
Right.
with elaichi and all that kind
Ilchi
of stuff.
jaifal,
Yeah.
yes.
And then it's baked. Or like our khajas, which are baked. Some are fried, but you also get baked khajas, which is literally puff pastry.
Puff pastry, absolutely.
And karanji also.
Yeah, and
is
so intricate. The
intricate,
7 layers. And yeah.
Absolutely. So there is that influence. I'm wondering whether that came only post-colonial times or whether there was some form of baking things before that. What do you think?
When I talk about baking, I have actually only come across things that are baked, like desserts, uh, in Bombay, and in like East Indian puddings also,
Sure.
or in Goa. But those have
That's
been
it.
after the Columbian exchange
Yeah.
and after the
Yeah, after the Brits and
the colonization
French
by
and
the
Dutch or whoever came.
European communities. Yeah, I don't remember seeing anything baked before that, though we do have a tradition of baking things like litti or bati. Those are also technically baked,
Yes,
right?
you're
Like
right.
in a sense. So But
I
I
never
don't.
thought of that. Yeah.
I can't recall any baked dessert which has been around for,
For
for
centuries.
centuries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last thing we find, and because we've spoken of such wonderful sweet thing, is fruit. The use of fruit to make desserts.
Yeah.
Banana, for example. Uh, we didn't wait for banana fritters to come. I mean, we were doing our own banana
Yeah, the
things.
parampori.
Yes, there you
I
go.
don't know if I said that right because
The
yeah,
the Z.
the Z L
Yeah.
H everything together.
Yeah.
But yeah, the parampori, and I love that. It's one of my favorite things to eat. We also have a banana halwa, no, in the
Yeah.
down south. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
Coimbatore.
we make banana polis, like puran polis. You make banana polis. So uh, you make a banana halwa and put it in maide ka rotis, and you make a
Wow, yum. Also, the
delicious.
Mangalore buns also have banana.
Yes, they have banana.
in
The sweet
them.
they use banana for the sweetener in
Yeah.
Mangalore buns,
Yeah.
and I'm sure other fruit.
There is this one dessert. I don't know what it's called, but I think it's an amchi dessert where you have mangoes and targola
Hmm.
chopped up and put in fresh coconut milk, like you freshly extracted coconut milk and jaggery.
Oh.
And it's
nice.
this cold dessert. So in the summers, because
Wow,
now is the
yeah.
season, right? So cold Alfonso mangoes and those targola, which is almost like that coco de nato bits, right?
Yes,
Like
yes,
it's
yes.
in this freshly extracted sweet coconut milk and a touch of jaggery. A friend of mine makes it, and it's delicious.
Must try this, man. Because Tadgolas will come into season now.
Yeah.
And mangoes already into
Mangoes
season.
already here.
So,
In the north, you have a lot of apple kheers which are being made now.
because
That's
Kashmir is, Himachal is full of
yeah,
apples.
Kashmir,
Yeah.
Himachal, Uttarakhand. In fact, I was reading one of these Salma Hussein's translation of a Mughal cookbook, Alwan Nimat.
Hmm.
And in that, there's a seb kheer recipe. So it's not a new thing. It's been around for at least 200 years,
Been- been around,
if
yes.
not more.
I think as you travel to various parts of India, and that is the great thing about India because we've got such varied climates and we've got such varied ingredients
Yes.
that whatever local ingredient is available, be it coconut, be it a fruit, be it vegetables, we've made
Used.
sweets and desserts out of nearly everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything, yeah?
Yeah, if we can make sweets and desserts out of garlic and onions, we can make it out of
Out of anything.
anything at all. Yeah.
Which makes India just a wonderful country for anything to eat. I mean, we just,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
Yeah. It's also what makes Indian food so difficult to define. You can't say what is Indian
There is
cuisine,
no
what is
such
there's
thing
no
as
yeah.
Indian food.
And which is why it's so nice to be able to go into the pockets, go into each state, each district, each community and understand even within the same village there are various communities, making dishes in their own manner. It's
Absolutely.
mind-boggling and beautiful.
Beautiful. Correct. So let's start talking about the festival thing because I think that's something that is
Yes.
interesting. As a country, we have so many festivals. If you open the bank holiday calendar, you'll find that every month there are 3 festivals in India, which is great because we celebrate everything. And because we are so varied and vivid, we have all these festivals. But each festival often has a sweet or a mithai or a sort of menu attached to
Attached to it, yes. And I think that's lovely. I think that's also, something that keeps traditions going because you may not make that mithai for the rest of the year, but at least for that festival, you get into the kitchen and you're making it. Like you are making a karanji when it's, like
Diwali,
Diwali.
yeah.
You are making Easter eggs at Easter. You
Yeah.
are making a sheer kurma, at Eid or at least going to your friend's place and like
Yeah.
demanding your sheer
Correct.
kurma.
Yeah,
Where is
yeah.
it? So that's what's nice, this connecting festivals to mithai, and I think it comes from a time when we were an agrarian society. So our festivals were essentially harvest festivals,
Correct.
and we were celebrating these very ingredients. For example, if you have tilgul, at Sankrant. It's
Absolutely.
because you are celebrating the sugarcane harvest,
Correct,
right?
correct.
That is why the jaggery
The
becomes
jaggery
so.
and the make chikki also and
Yes,
tirbu also.
yes, and it's across the country. In the north, you have that gajak and reverie, which I
Which is
had
the
at
same
that
thing.
time. The same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very, and in that it was very interesting because I could understand the jaggery. I was reading about it. I could understand jaggery because sugarcane harvest has happened, but sugarcane harvest also happens thrice a year. So I was like, why at this time are we doing the til? So apparently, the god Surya, because Sankrant is when you're worshipping Surya, like because it's going to be warmer days again, winters are over. Surya is worshipped with til. So I was like, maybe that is why we have til with the good, because it's not like til is a winter harvest or it's being harvested just before. So it's interesting connections which are keeping things going for many years.
And it's like this one festival which is such a coastal festival, which honestly nobody really celebrates because of global warming, seasons have gone haywire. But Narali Purnima, which is
Yeah.
Coconut Day,
Right.
I mean, which is actually symbolize the easing of the monsoon, the seas becoming calmer, and the fisher folk being able to go out,
Go back.
go back into the sea, and it was symbolized by throwing coconut into the water.
Into the water.
You pray and you take a coconut and throw it into the water.
Yes.
And then people would collect all those coconuts and then make something out of coconut because there was just so many coconuts, Or
Right.
even temples where you go and give coconuts to the temple. And now we are, of course, in an age of Instagram, which we always come back to. I don't know why, but and complete madness happening on Instagram because food is such a big thing
Right.
on Instagram, and desserts and people trying to actually not recreate, to create experimental stuff. Maybe tasty, maybe not tasty. I mean, there's fried ice cream.
Fried ice cream is actually nice.
Yeah.
And I first had fried ice cream, and I remember this very, very, clearly when I was some 6-7 years old. This was way back in the early 90s, and we had gone to a wedding, and fried ice cream was served there. And it was the rage because everyone had left everything else and it had lined up at the fried ice cream counter.
Fellow.
It's actually very, very nice.
But there's a lot of experimenting happening with to putting savory things in sweet and trying to create desserts out of it. And what do you think of the trend?
I was seeing one gulab jamun paratha the other day,
God,
which was okay, but then I saw dosa with ice cream and I was like, that's not okay. So I
but
think
what if
there's
the
a
dosa was not savory and you had sugar in the dosa as well? It becomes
sweet
like crepes, no?
Yeah. But in
Could
my
work.
head, like a dosa which is made out of dal and chawal, fermented batter is
Should be eaten
Yeah.
with podi. And
Yes.
not with
ice cream. So I mean, there is, I think, a lot. I mean, these days people do a lot for social media and to go viral. Not all of it is good. I'm not saying all of it is bad. Like I probably would eat a gulab jamun paratha because I'm used to the idea of a meetha paratha, chini ka paratha,
correct, yeah.
gud ka paratha. But I don't think I want to try dosa ice cream.
dosa ice cream at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And neither do I. But, I'm just trying to be liberal and open-minded, as most of us are not, with woke generations coming everywhere. Unless you try, you'll never evolve.
That's
And unless you experiment, you won't come up with something new.
Yeah.
So what the hell? I mean, let them,
The evolution of food is
let them do what they're doing.
extremely important.
One genius may hit upon a great idea. The rest of you fools will just make posts on Instagram.
Yeah, which we shall forget after they go viral for 2 days.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that sweet note, and I just love the idea of exploring just sweets in this one episode that we've just done. It was just a very sweet episode.
Yes, a lot of sweet talk.
Lot of sweet talk, and we can pun after that on every sweet word possible. But thank you, Shubhra. It's just been great, and let's hope that we can catch up again And because
Absolutely,
there's
I
so
love
much to talk
that.
about when it comes to food.
Yeah, I think we can talk more about sweets also.
Oh,
I mean,
more
like,
about
yeah,
sweets.
and other things,
Yeah.
of course. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you for having me. It's
And these are
been
one of those episodes where
so
we end
nice.
the episode feeling really hungry.
Yeah,
No?
my God, my I was just like, I need to eat something.
Only mithai we'll have. Only one big lunch full of mithai will be great.
That's a great idea.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, wonderful.
Thank you so much.
So this was A Century of Stories India, brought to you by IDFC First Bank. Always you first. I'm Kunal Vijaykar. See you next time with more.
IVM